As we stand at the threshold of 2026, I've been reflecting on something that happens every year at this time. People everywhere are making resolutions, setting goals, declaring that this year will be different. They're going to lose weight, make more money, find love, achieve success, finally become the person they've always wanted to be. And I admire that optimism, that hope, that desire for growth. But I also know from years of observation and countless conversations that most of these resolutions will be abandoned by February. Most of these goals will remain unfulfilled, and most people will end 2026 feeling much the same as they felt at the end of 2025, wondering where the year went and why nothing really changed. And the reason is simple. Most people focus on what they want to achieve, what they want to gain, what they want to add to their lives, without focusing on who they need to become to achieve those things. They set outcome goals without addressing the character development, the habit formation, and the internal growth required to reach those outcomes. They want different results while remaining the same person, and that simply doesn't work. If you want 2026 to be genuinely different, genuinely transformative, genuinely the year where your life shifts to a new level, you cannot just focus on what you want to accomplish. You must focus on what you need to improve within yourself, on who you need to become. Today, I want to share with you 10 specific areas that, if you commit to improving them in 2026, will not just change your year, they will change your life. These aren't random suggestions. These are fundamental dimensions of being human that, when developed intentionally, create compound effects across every area of your existence. Some of these might seem obvious, some might surprise you, but all of them, if you truly commit to improving them, will transform you from the inside out. And when you transform from the inside out, your external reality inevitably shifts to reflect that internal change. The first thing you must improve in 2026 is your relationship with yourself. This might sound strange because we rarely think about having a relationship with ourselves, but it's actually the most important relationship you have. How you speak to yourself internally, how you treat yourself, whether you're compassionate or cruel with yourself, whether you trust yourself or doubt yourself, whether you honor your needs or neglect them, all of this determines the quality of every other relationship and experience in your life. Most people have a terrible relationship with themselves. They speak to themselves in ways they would never speak to anyone else. They criticize themselves mercilessly. They focus exclusively on their flaws while dismissing their strengths. They break promises to themselves constantly, saying they'll do something and then not following through, eroding self-trust. They neglect their own needs while prioritizing everyone else's. They compare themselves to others and always find themselves lacking. And then they wonder why they feel anxious, depressed, unfulfilled, or stuck. In 2026, commit to improving your relationship with yourself. Start speaking to yourself with kindness and encouragement. When you make a mistake, respond the way a loving mentor would, not the way a harsh critic would. Keep the promises you make to yourself. Because every time you follow through on a commitment to yourself, you build self-trust. And self-trust is the foundation of confidence. Prioritize your own well-being, not selfishly at the expense of others, but recognizing that you cannot pour from an empty cup. Stop the constant comparison to others and instead focus on your own growth and journey. I know someone who transformed their entire life by making this one shift. They spent years feeling inadequate, anxious, and stuck. Then they made a decision to treat themselves the way they would treat their best friend, with compassion, encouragement, and respect. They started noticing their negative self-talk and consciously replacing it with kinder thoughts. They started honoring their commitments to themselves the way they honored commitments to others. Within months, everything changed. Not their external circumstances initially, but their internal experience. They felt more peaceful, more confident, more capable. And from that internal shift, external changes followed. Better relationships, career advancement, improved health. All because they improved their relationship with themselves. The second thing you must improve in 2026 is your daily discipline. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. It's the ability to do what needs to be done when it needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not. Most people are incredibly inconsistent. They're motivated and productive one day, lazy and distracted the next. They start strong and fade quickly. They let their feelings dictate their actions. And because of this inconsistency, they never build momentum, never create lasting change, never achieve significant goals. Discipline is not about being rigid or joyless. Discipline is about freedom, the freedom that comes from having control over yourself rather than being controlled by your impulses, moods, and circumstances. Discipline means you exercise even when you don't feel like it. You do the important work even when it's not urgent. You show up consistently even when results aren't immediate. You delay gratification for the sake of long-term benefit. You keep your word to yourself. In 2026, focus on building discipline in small, specific ways. Don't try to become perfectly disciplined overnight. Choose one area where you'll practice discipline daily. Maybe it's waking up at a consistent time. Maybe it's working on your most important task before checking email. Maybe it's exercising every day without exception. Maybe it's reading for 30 minutes before bed instead of scrolling your phone. Pick one discipline practice and do it every single day for the entire year. As you build discipline in one area, it will overflow into others. Discipline is like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it becomes. The third thing you must improve in 2026 is your ability to focus. We live in the most distracted era in human history. We're bombarded with notifications, messages, emails, social media updates, news alerts, entertainment options, an endless stream of stimuli competing for our attention, and most people have completely lost the ability to focus deeply on one thing for an extended period. They're constantly switching between tasks, constantly interrupted, constantly stimulated, and consequently, constantly shallow in their thinking and their work. Deep focus is becoming a rare and therefore increasingly valuable skill. The ability to concentrate fully on one important task for hours without distraction is what allows you to produce excellent work, to learn difficult skills, to solve complex problems, to create something meaningful. But you cannot develop this ability without intentional practice, because everything in modern life is designed to fragment your attention. In 2026, commit to rebuilding your capacity for deep focus. Start with small increments. Set a timer for 30 minutes and work on one task with complete focus, phone on airplane mode, email closed, no interruptions, just you and the task. When the timer goes off, take a break, then do another session. Gradually increase the duration. Eventually, you want to be able to focus deeply for 2 to 3 hours at a stretch. Additionally, reduce your exposure to distraction. Significantly limit social media. Turn off notifications. Create blocks of time where you're completely unavailable for anything except the work in front of you. Protect your attention the way you would protect money, because attention is actually more valuable than money. You can always make more money, but you cannot make more time or more attention. The fourth thing you must improve in 2026 is your capacity for discomfort. Most people are addicted to comfort. They avoid anything difficult, challenging, or uncomfortable. They take the easy path, choose the convenient option, stay in familiar territory. And because growth only happens outside your comfort zone, because everything worthwhile requires doing difficult things, they stay stuck, achieving far less than their potential, living far smaller lives than they could. Your capacity for discomfort determines the size of your life. If you can only tolerate a little discomfort, your life will be small. If you can tolerate significant discomfort, your life can be expansive. Every meaningful achievement requires discomfort. Building a business is uncomfortable. Getting in shape is uncomfortable. Learning a new skill is uncomfortable. Having difficult conversations is uncomfortable. Taking risks is uncomfortable. But on the other side of that discomfort is growth, achievement, and a larger life. In 2026, intentionally practice doing difficult things, not for the sake of suffering, but for the sake of expanding your capacity. Have the conversation you've been avoiding. Take on the project that intimidates you. Exercise when you don't feel like it. Say no when saying yes would be easier. Sit with uncomfortable emotions instead of immediately numbing them. Each time you choose discomfort over comfort. When discomfort serves your growth, you're expanding your capacity and you're becoming someone who can handle bigger challenges, pursue bigger goals, and live a bigger life. The fifth thing you must improve in 2026 is the quality of your inputs. You are what you consume, not just food, but information, media, content, conversations. What you put into your mind shapes your thoughts. Your thoughts shape your feelings influence your actions, and your actions create your results. If you're consuming garbage, low quality content, negative news, toxic social media, gossip, and drama, you will think and feel accordingly, and your life will reflect that. Most people are incredibly careless about what they consume. They scroll mindlessly through social media, absorbing whatever the algorithm feeds them. They watch hours of television that adds no value to their lives. They listen to conversations that are entirely negative or trivial. They read nothing of substance, and then they wonder why they feel anxious, unfocused, uninspired, or stuck. In 2026, radically upgrade the quality of your inputs. Be ruthlessly selective about what you allow into your mind. Read books that challenge and expand your thinking. Listen to podcasts that educate or inspire you. Follow only accounts that add genuine value to your life. Limit news consumption to what you actually need to know. Spend time in conversations with people who are thoughtful, positive, and growth-oriented. Expose yourself to beauty, art, nature, and ideas that elevate you. Think of your mind as a garden. If you plant weeds, you get weeds. If you plant flowers, you get flowers. Be intentional about what you're planting. The sixth thing you must improve in 2026 is your emotional intelligence. Most people are completely unaware of their emotions. They don't understand what they're feeling, why they're feeling it, or how to manage their emotional states. They're at the mercy of their emotions, reacting impulsively, saying things they regret, making decisions based on temporary feelings, unable to regulate themselves. And this lack of emotional intelligence sabotages relationships, careers, health, and overall well-being. Emotional intelligence means you're aware of your emotions as they arise. You can name what you're feeling. You understand what triggered the emotion. You can sit with uncomfortable emotions without immediately acting on them or trying to escape them. You can regulate your emotional state when needed. You can empathize with others' emotions. You can communicate your feelings effectively. These are learnable skills that most people never develop because they've never been taught. In 2026, commit to developing your emotional intelligence. Start by simply noticing and naming your emotions throughout the day. I'm feeling anxious right now. I'm feeling frustrated. I'm feeling joyful. This simple practice of noticing and naming creates space between you and your emotions, preventing them from controlling you. Learn to pause before reacting emotionally. When you feel anger rising or anxiety spiking, take 3 deep breaths before responding. This pause can prevent impulsive reactions you'll regret. Journal about your emotions to understand patterns and triggers. Practice empathy by trying to understand others' perspectives and feelings. Read books on emotional intelligence. This one skill improvement will positively affect every relationship and every area of your life. The seventh thing you must improve in 2026 is your physical vitality. Your body is the vehicle through which you experience life, pursue goals, serve others, and create anything. If your body is depleted, sick, weak, or exhausted, everything else suffers. Your thinking gets cloudy. Your emotions become unstable. Your energy plummets. Your productivity decreases. Your quality of life diminishes. Yet most people treat their bodies terribly, eating poorly, moving too little, sleeping inadequately, chronically stressed, and then wondering why they feel terrible. You cannot achieve great things or enjoy life fully from a depleted, unhealthy body. Physical vitality, having energy, strength, and health, is foundational to everything else, and improving it is not complicated, though it does require consistency. In 2026, make physical vitality a non-negotiable priority. Move your body every single day, at least 30 minutes of intentional exercise. This could be walking, running, strength training, yoga, swimming, cycling, whatever you enjoy and will do consistently. Eat real food, mostly plants, in appropriate amounts. Stop eating processed junk that depletes you. Prioritize sleep. Get 7 to 8 hours consistently because sleep is when your body repairs and your brain consolidates learning. Manage stress through practices like meditation, breath work, or time in nature. Drink adequate water. Get regular health checkups. Your physical vitality affects everything else in your life, so make it a priority, not something you'll get to eventually. The eighth thing you must improve in 2026 is your financial wisdom. Money is not everything, but financial stress affects everything. Most people have a dysfunctional relationship with money. They either ignore it completely, living in denial about their financial situation, or they obsess over it anxiously. They spend impulsively. They don't save or invest. They live beyond their means. They don't understand basic financial principles. And this creates constant stress, limits their options, and keeps them stuck. You don't need to become wealthy to improve your financial wisdom. You need to become intentional and informed about money. Understand where your money is going. Create and stick to a budget. Spend less than you earn. Build an emergency fund so you're not one crisis away from disaster. Eliminate or reduce debt. Start investing for the future. Even small amounts consistently will compound significantly over time. Educate yourself about personal finance through books, courses, or advisors. Make financial decisions based on your values and long-term goals, not on impulse or comparison to others. In 2026, commit to improving your financial wisdom. Track every expense for 1 month to understand your spending patterns. Create a realistic budget. Automate savings so money goes to savings before you can spend it. Read at least 2 books on personal finance. If you have debt, create a plan to eliminate it. Start or increase your retirement contributions. The goal is not to become obsessed with money, but to become wise about it, so it serves your life rather than being a constant source of stress. The 9th thing you must improve in 2026 is your contribution to others. Most people are focused almost exclusively on themselves, what they want, what they need, what they're getting or not getting. And this self-focus, ironically, makes them less fulfilled, not more. Because human beings are wired for connection and contribution. We find meaning and satisfaction not primarily through what we accumulate for ourselves, but through how we serve and contribute to others. When you shift from what can I get to what can I give, everything changes. You stop feeling empty despite having much. You start feeling rich even with little. You build deeper relationships because you're focused on adding value rather than extracting it. You find purpose because your life is about something larger than yourself. In 2026, intentionally increase your contribution to others. This doesn't mean you neglect yourself or become a martyr. It means you regularly ask, how can I help? How can I serve? How can I make someone's life better? Volunteer for a cause you care about. Mentor says, "Omiman who could benefit from your experience." Be more generous with your time, attention, and resources. Do your work with excellence because it serves others. Be kind to strangers. Listen deeply when someone needs to be heard. Look for opportunities to contribute value in every interaction. What you'll discover is that contribution creates a positive feedback loop. When you give, you feel better, which makes you want to give more, which makes you feel even better. And you'll find that many of the things you are chasing for yourself, respect, connection, meaning, fulfillment, these come naturally as byproducts of contribution. The 10th and final thing you must improve in 2026 is your spiritual depth. Now, regardless of whether you're religious or not, whether you believe in God or not, every human being has a spiritual dimension. Spirituality is about connecting to something larger than yourself, finding meaning beyond material success, cultivating inner peace, contemplating life's deeper questions, developing wisdom, and connecting to your highest self. Most people live entirely on the surface of life. They're consumed with the practical, the material, the immediate. They never pause to reflect, to connect inward, to contemplate meaning. They're so busy doing that they forget how to be. And this spiritual emptiness, even when everything else is going well, creates a sense of hollowness, a feeling that something essential is missing. In 2026, commit to developing your spiritual depth. This might look different for different people. For some, it's a formal religious practice, prayer, attending services, studying sacred texts. For others, it's meditation, spending time in nature, practicing mindfulness, journaling, reading philosophy, or engaging with art and beauty. The specific form matters less than the intention to connect with something deeper than your daily concerns, to cultivate inner stillness, to reflect on meaning and purpose, to develop your character and wisdom. Create a daily practice, even just 10 minutes, where you step away from doing and simply be. Reflect on your life, your values, your purpose. Ask yourself big questions. What really matters? What do I want my life to stand for? What wisdom am I gaining from my experiences? Read texts that speak to the soul, whether religious scriptures, philosophy, poetry, or spiritual teachings. Spend time in nature, which naturally connects us to something larger. Cultivate gratitude, compassion, and presence. This spiritual depth will anchor you, guide you, and give your life a richness that material success alone can never provide. So these are the 10 things you must improve in 2026. Your relationship with yourself, your daily discipline, your ability to focus, your capacity for discomfort, the quality of your inputs, your emotional intelligence, your physical vitality, your financial wisdom, your contribution to others, and your spiritual depth. These are not superficial goals like losing 10 pounds or making more money, though improving these 10 areas will likely help you achieve those goals as well. These are fundamental dimensions of being human that, when developed, transform who you are at the core. And here's what I want you to understand. You don't have to be perfect at all 10 areas. You don't have to master everything simultaneously. Start with 1 or 2 areas where you most need growth. Commit to making measurable improvement in those areas. As you improve in one area, you'll find it naturally supports improvement in others. These dimensions are interconnected. You improve your physical vitality, your focus improves. When you develop discipline, your relationship with yourself strengthens. When you deepen spiritually, your capacity for contribution increases. The question is not whether you're capable of improving in these areas.